For years now, I've been thinking about the influence that big businesses, and more specifically the leader of big tech companies, have over our lives. These CEOs and founders, with companies worth billions if not trillions of dollars, have a whole lot of sway when it comes to our lives. They may not have the direct or official powers and responsibilities that politicians have, but their money, their influence, and their word can massively impact our lives and our world. I put up a poll on our social accounts, and it seems like a lot of you agree with my suspicion. Anyway, maybe that's a topic for another day. Like this video and comment below if you'd like to see that topic discussed. Essentially though, I just wanted to give some context for this video. Why I was so interested when Facebook began laying out their plans to form a Supreme Court of Facebook. So in this video, I'm going to explain what Facebook's Supreme Court is, why the tech giant have founded it, and why tech companies setting up their own semi-political organisations is so interesting in the modern world. If you like our content, remember to check out our US and EU channels. Both publish at least 2 videos a week on a variety of topics that we'll never discuss on this channel. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss a thing, click the links to TLDR US and EU in the description. Thank you for your support. Facebook. I'm pretty confident in saying that everyone knows what Facebook is. Given that they have 2.6 billion active monthly users, which is 57% of the internet-connected world, it's pretty safe to say that you've used Facebook in the last month. Even if you don't regularly use Facebook, it's likely that you use one of their other services, like Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. Facebook's huge reach means that their policies and decisions have big impacts on the real world. Think of the misinformation and fake news that spread around Facebook in recent years, with many blaming Russian interference on Facebook for swinging the 2016 US election. Or think of the deplatforming that's happened, where major figures have been removed from Facebook and other social media sites for violating terms of service. When a business can swing elections and influence people's political expression, it could be worth looking at how that business is allowed to operate and whether they should be allowed to hold quite so much power. That's one of the reasons that some people advocate for breaking up the tech giants. Facebook has been allowed to grow quite substantially in recent years, helped in part by permission from the US Federal Trade Commission, who allowed them to purchase their rivals, including Instagram and WhatsApp. With Facebook now owning these 2 other multi-billion-dollar businesses, as well as a portfolio of other products, there's not a whole lot of competition in the social media landscape, at least in the West. Now, we don't want to get into the FTC's decisions here, and whether they should have allowed Facebook to make these acquisitions, but the fact is that they have, and because of that, Facebook has been growing, and growing fast. Businesses succeeding isn't an issue, of course. In a capitalistic society, it's exactly what we should want to happen. But the issue is when businesses like this get too powerful. That's why a growing movement to break up Facebook has emerged, and this isn't completely fanciful either. The US government can roll back mergers, especially when there's reason to suspect that regulators didn't understand the markets well enough at the time of the actual merger, with the Supreme Court undoing mergers that happened over 40 years ago. What makes Facebook especially unique is the way that the business is structured. Not only does the company have a lot of power, but one individual personally holds a lot of that power: Mark Zuckerberg. You may be familiar with Zuckerberg as one of Facebook's founders and as the company's current CEO. Now, CEOs always hold a lot of influence in businesses, but Mark's powers go much further than you might expect. That's because as the company's co-founder, Zuckerberg holds 59.9% of the company's voting shares. Now, you don't need to be a business mogul to understand that having more than half of the votes means that you can essentially do whatever you want. And it's this that's led to some calling Zuckerberg's position within Facebook as untouchable, with Jonas Krohn, a senior vice president at Trillium Asset Management, telling Vox that anything that requires a shareholder vote, he gets to ultimately decide whether it's going to get a majority or not. Even Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes seems to believe that this is a bad thing, calling for the breakup of Facebook in a piece for the New York Times, in which he describes how decisions are made at Facebook by saying, Facebook's board works more as an advisory committee than an overseer, because Mark controls around 60% of the voting shares. Mark alone can decide how to configure Facebook's algorithms, or determine what people see in their news feeds, what privacy settings they can use, and even which messages get delivered. He sets rules for how to distinguish violent and incendiary speech from the merely offensive, and he can choose to shut down a competitor by acquiring, blocking, or copying it. Now, we're not just talking about how a big company who can shape elections, limit free speech, and impact the world. We're talking about one man who essentially wields all of that power alone. And while Hughes does describe his co-founder as a good, kind person, he goes on to say that the government must hold Mark accountable. But this video is not on the breakup of Facebook, though we could make that if you want, so comment below if you do. This video is about what people are calling Facebook's Supreme Court. It's important to understand everything I've just said though, to fully appreciate the context and understand why Facebook might even consider starting anything that even resembles a Supreme Court. Normal companies are often frustrated by the actions of governments and regulators, and would often like more freedom to act with impunity. So it does seem a little weird that Facebook would voluntarily set up a court to preside over them. That is, until you understand the unique design of Facebook's power structure and the pressure that they're coming under. In the light of all of that, the whole thing seems very reasonable. Now, Facebook obviously doesn't want to be broken up. Fundamentally, they understand that having control over a huge percentage of the online world gives them big advantages. They gain economies of scale when it comes to development, server space, offices, all of the usual stuff that big businesses benefit from. But they also get to limit the strength of their competitors. So if Facebook wants to prevent the breakup of their business, they're going to have to take the complaints they receive seriously. They understand that if they don't tackle the fake news, and if they don't respond to those who accuse them of suppressing free speech, then the pressure on the government to take action is only going to be ratcheted up. So Facebook simply needs to do something to placate those who want to see them breaking up. And that's where the Oversight Board comes in. First announced by Zuckerberg in a November 2018 Facebook post, the Oversight Board could be the solution to Facebook's problems. The idea is that the board would oversee all content on Facebook and could make decisions about free speech on the platform. It's worth noting immediately that the board is fully independent from Facebook, although Facebook did spend around $130 million setting it up. Also, crucially, the board can overrule decisions made by Zuckerberg, meaning that for the first time, Mark no longer has complete control over the platform, as well as the algorithm and the content served. So let's take a look at how the board actually works. Let's imagine that Anne posts something on Facebook, something a little more controversial. More controversial? Yeah, that's about right. Facebook decides that the post violates the terms of service that Anne signed up to when making her account, and the post gets removed. At this point, Anne gets the opportunity to request that the case gets taken to the Oversight Board. If the Oversight Board decide to rule on the case, the board would then review the post and decide if Anne was within her rights to publish the post. So you can now probably see why people are comparing it to a Supreme Court. And when you look at the people who comprise the Oversight Board, you can see that Facebook also want you to think of this as a serious court, with the tech giant selecting free expression advocates, law professors, a Nobel laureate, major journalists, and even the former Prime Minister of Denmark to make up the board. It's these people's job to make the difficult calls, to decide what should and shouldn't be on Facebook, and how far free speech extends. Like a normal court, their decisions will, over time, develop their own form of precedents and case law, making the whole process a little easier. So why has Facebook decided to set up this board? Well, they're trying to prove that they can be trusted. They seem to be hoping that by regulating themselves in this way, they're able to prove to governments and users that they can be trusted to hold the vast amounts of power they do. The hope appears to be that with these decision makers in place, the focus can be shifted away from the company, away from the all-powerful Zuckerberg, giving Facebook someone else to point to when controversial decisions are made. And that's exactly why there's speculation that other companies may join this Oversight Board, turning it from a Facebook-specific organisation to a body that regulates online social spaces more generally. This might mean that other companies piggyback on Facebook's $130 million investment, but it seems like it would ultimately benefit Facebook more. The further they can push the decision-making away from themselves, the more they can distance themselves from the decision, allowing the Oversight Board to take more control of content and also take more of the heat for the decisions that are made. Some are very happy with this model, saying that it's an example for other tech giants to follow, while others see it as a more cynical move designed to allow the company to regulate itself rather than being judged by governmental forces. It will be interesting to see how this one plays out, not only as a standard for how the online world could be regulated going forward, but also how different people react to the board. Ordinarily, you might expect those on the left not to like this proposal, preferring the regulation to be left to governments, while those on the right might want companies to be free to make their own decisions, without government interference. But in this specific case, things seem a little different. After all, it tends to be those on the right who have the biggest issues with Facebook and other content moderators, claiming that their actions, decisions, and deplatforming silences conservative voices, with both Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. picking up this cause. So, will normally free market conservatives be happy with this solution, or will it not satisfy their claims that the right are being silenced? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this video and want to find out more about how tech, businesses and politics merge, then like this video and comment below to let us know. Also, comment the stories you'd like to see us cover, especially if you're interested in one of the videos we mentioned earlier. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more updates and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we post a video. You can also find more from us across all platforms simply by searching for TLDR News. And a special thanks to our Patreon backers for supporting videos like this one.